Be here by 2.
Are we up and running? All right, good morning, everyone. It is 8 o'clock, Thursday, February 6th, 2025. I'll call this meeting of the Board of Harbor Commissioners for the Town of LaPointe to order. With us this morning, we have Evan Erickson here, myself, Glenn Carlson, here, Michael Collins via Zoom,
Here.
and we're anxiously awaiting the arrival of Susan Widmar. Let's jump right into public comment.
I have a comment. I just was speaking on behalf of a couple island families who have enrolled some children in spring traveling soccer, and I was made to be aware that the kids were like able to play last fall because of a grant that the commission acquired to have a later boat. And so it's the practices start April 1st. I don't know, there's no posted ferry schedule, so I don't know what the anticipated schedule would be, but ideally, we don't know the practice schedule yet, but it would be between 5:30 and 7 on a weeknight usually, so maybe even 2. So if we could, it's possible to get another grant to have a later vote, that'd be amazing. I just wanted to let the commission know that there's several kids that want to play, so that's it.
Hillary, did you say that started on April 1st?
April 1st is when practice starts. Yeah, right now there is, we do on Sundays.
Excuse me.
But I think that the kids can get back with the current schedule.
And they'd be coming from the Bayfield School?
They'd be coming from Ashland,
They'd be
so I'm not sure if getting back by a 7 o'clock boat problem, so
Got
that's
it.
something we'd have to
Okay,
work out with the team, but that's all I know.
thanks.
Yep.
I will add that Jay Wiltz is now with us. And we also have Max Immold, Town Administrator, and Hillary Quam from for the public. Let's go right into the minutes.
Move that
Oh, I should go back. I think I'm supposed to read this public comment from Robin. It is on the agenda later, but she did request that it was read in as a public comment. This is from Robin. We appreciate the opportunity to review the proposed 2025 tariff and provide input on the Harbor Commission's suggested rate increases. Miffle LLC strongly recommends modifications and has drafted a viable tariff that will effectively meet the same revenue projections. Number 1, proposed adult passenger fares increase from $9 to $11 each way. The Harbor Commission is considering a 22% increase on the adult passenger fare, which raises some important concerns. We believe that a $2 increase in the fare each way would have a notable impact on our visitors. For instance, a family of 5 traveling this summer would see an additional $20 added to their round trip costs compared to 2024. It is crucial to acknowledge the significant role that visitors to Madeline Island play in our local economy. We believe that many visitors will decrease their spending at Madeline Island businesses to compensate for the fare increase. Additionally, these visitors may choose to skip the Madeline Island Museum and opt for Big Bay Town Park instead of the Big Bay State Park, as vehicle admission to the former is free. Moreover, we kindly urge the Harbor Commission to consider the financial hardship this fare increase will have on year-round and seasonal residents who pay full cash prices when riding the ferry. It is important for the Harbor Commission to recognize that while ferry discount cards offer reduced fees, many residents do not have them. Number 2, dynamic pricing for ferry discount cards. We recommend continuing with simplified mag card pricing that offers an on-season and off-season rate. Number 3, boat trailer fares. We encourage the Harbor Commission to continue using the existing formula that uses a verified Minnesota boat weight chart. Number 4, special trip rate increases. We ask that the Harbor Commission consider the financial impact that this fare increase will have on residents. In 2024, 57% of ambulance runs for residents incurred a special trip charge. Similarly, in 2023, 50% of all ambulance runs for residents were charged for a special trip. We look forward to sitting down with you to further explain our reasoning and answer any questions. Thank you. Been joined by Robin and Cal from Miffle LLC. We're still on public comment if you guys have anything beyond that. Okay. Now we'll take care of the minutes from the 1:30:25 meeting.
First page, items 5, and then there's a transcript in my last name.
I'll move that we place the minutes of the January 30th meeting on file as amended.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Chief Administrative Officer report.
Yes, I have the updated Harbor Commission bank accounts. This is as of Monday, the 3rd. The utility account, and so this is pre-transfers. I've requested a transfer with Melissa for the certificate of deposit. The Miffle utility account is at $312,923.67. I do have the breakdown below as far as what part of the certificate of deposit is going into the utility account and then what the remainder is. January revenue and so this is not including all of the parcel hauling, was at just over 105,000, which was 102% of our budgeted income for the month. So February revenue as of Monday was just over 4,000, which is just under 5% of the budgeted income for the month. Monthly reports from Miffle to the Harbor Commission. I did request with Miffle that the breakdown of basically the maintenance and the projects and everything that are done, a little bit more detail added to those for future reports. And then after reviewing the bank statements for Miffle, and having like a better idea of their system as far as when we reimburse, how that money is distributed amongst the accounts and what each account is for. Really don't see any like excess money in any of the accounts to reduce the working capital any more than we already have. That's all I have.
Okay.
I'll move that we put the chief administrative report on file.
I'll second.
Who got it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 6, discuss congressional direct spending request.
I asked that be on the agenda, and I did have a brief exchange with Cal regarding putting in a request for a new ferry boat. And my sense is that going with the all-electric with the big battery on the shore is probably, at this point in this political environment, not going to be an easy sell. But I do think that it's important that we have a boat that's capable of breaking ice up to the point where we can have an ice road, and that we don't have to have this, is there a wind sled? Is there not going to be a wind sled? And that, maybe we can, have something that will go through a foot or more of ice. So I did talk with Cal. He had some good ideas on, a hybrid solution. And it sounds like not going with the full installation of batteries, but having that capability, on shore, maybe having a battery on the boat. But, certainly in the summer, you could run them on a battery, on electric. And I think Cal thought like about 20 million was the ballpark.
Yeah,
And I don't know if you want me to comment on the hybrid or.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, and the big component on that and where we talk about it is this boat would be a boat, yes, right up, if you can run it up to the ice road, you get rid of instantly a lot of issues with starting down, shutting up, it's, you can run right up until it's safe for a car to go across. We would anticipate that would be at about 20 inches of ice, is what we're aiming for on the boat that we've preliminarily designed for the clean ports. It all translates over. In fact, 90% of it does. The only thing that we would remove would be the batteries from the vessel. But we wouldn't recommend going, full diesel just because the idea of this boat would be, this would become your number one primary boat year round. Your biggest boat operates in winter as your primary boat, operates in summer as your primary boat. And one of the issues you have with direct drive diesels is that you have to have the monster diesels to break ice. And then you have to, in summer, you don't need it. So essentially what you'd have is a bank of generators. And in the winter, you'd kick on more generators to produce more power. And then in the summer, you would only run maybe one. And so because it doesn't take much effort to go back and forth in open water. So that you could keep it as an incredibly efficient boat for year-round use, which would really offset a lot of costs. You'd be able to get more cars, year-round in every season, which would minimize crew demands, which would be, very, very helpful. So the price on that, I think if you went for a bare bones, just very basic, fully diesel boat would be about 18 to 22 million, based off of what, we're kind of coming back on the grant, what we were asking for, and what the pricing came back for that boat. And then for, the hybrid, I would anticipate that'd be about 20 to 25, depending on, kind of how far you go with it, things that you can continue to do or make it, the heating more efficient, the, drivetrain more efficient, and those are where do you want to spend that money? If you want to put on a more efficient drivetrain for savings down the road, costs a little bit more upfront, but, that's where the 20 to 25 million would also become. I think that's a reasonable number, for a new bill.
Thank you. And I think that, if not at today's meeting, maybe at the next meeting, that we authorize Cal or whomever to put together a proposal and work with Senator Baldwin's office. Submitting a request for congressionally directed spending of, let's say, up to $25 million. And that is at the high end of what she has requested in the state for other entities, but it's not the highest. So, and maybe at some point it might be a combination of congressionally directed spending and, a congressionally directed low interest loan that might also work out, or a combination of the two. So, thank you.
It would be a similar propulsion with the azipods at either end.
It's likely, the azipods would probably be closer to the 20 million mark, but to start, going up to 22, 23, 24, 25, in that higher range would be azimuth drives, or Voice Schneider, I'm sorry, which are incredibly efficient. That's what the First Nations ferry is being built with in Fraser right now, is Voice Schneider drives. Kind of look like windmill blades going straight up and down in the water, and they're ice capable. They're more efficient and they're instant direction. So if you want to put thrust left, you move the joystick left and instantly thrust is going left within a second, as opposed to a azipod. If you are forward and you want to go left, you have to wait for it to turn to go left. So it does work. I mean, again, these are kind of the options that we have to weigh out, because the more efficient it is, the more that you save in the long run. And if you ever were to go to batteries, that has a huge impact on how much battery you need per hour.
It's both US made.
Voice Schneider is not US made, but that's actually one of the advantages is that with a azimuth drive, you either have to go with US made, which is Thrustmaster. So there's only one company in the US. And if they're not the most ideal application, then you have to explain to them, well, I'm going outside of the US and here's why, and you might like a different brand because they've got a better reliability, but government might say, well, that's not good enough for us. With the Voice Schneider drive, there's no competitors in the US. So it's not good in the sense that, dollars aren't staying in the US, but it would be, beneficial that you get to pick, exactly the tribe that you want without having to write, why we're not going with US built. So those are kind of the pros and cons with each.
Again, I think the window of opportunity for these requests is sometime in March.
Next up, we have 2025 tariff discussion.
Did we receive the edits that Ethel passed?
We got the letter that I read in.
So this is the same spreadsheet. I think we need to see their proposed edits that they mention in the letter.
Yeah, I would be interested in seeing an alternate, balanced budget if Miffle has one to offer. I think that'd be great.
And when you say balanced budget, Jay, I take it you're.
Well, I think it- I-
400,000.
Yeah, I mean, I think they indicated if I read the letter and heard it read correctly, that Miffle has an alternative to an increase in tariffs.
That meets the budgetary.
That meets the
requirements.
budgetary requirement for us to meet our financial. That,
Go ahead, Rob.
I worked on it this last weekend and, I got within 100,000, you know what I mean?
It was 60.
Or 60,000, whatever. I mean, it's just a hair bit below the 5.8. Which was on the thing. So, and what I did was I did it at several different, cash adult fairs. I reported on 59.75. And then I transferred it to our tariff. Because it's hard to see it, that chart is very useful, but it's hard to see it unless you put it all together. I harmonized the, like a trailer 25 to 30, 30 to 35, like $8 more, $8 more for each thing. Whereas in this chart, it's not as.
We'd like the opportunity to sit down and kind of go through those items and explain how we got to where we're at.
And when would be a good time for that to happen?
I mean, does that have to wait till next Thursday?
Oh, so
I don't know if this would make sense to go over, to get with like a committee or the budget committee. But I mean, to that effect, it could be something as lengthy as discussing a budget, there's, hey, here's how we got here, here's why so it might be in and out in an hour, it might be two, so that's just why we'd like the opportunity to kind of explain.
And what I did with that Excel spreadsheet, I didn't, I replaced the formula for the total at the bottom. I didn't mess with your, box on the side. You know what I mean? So I mean, you could take it and update it because then you have the cash versus this, versus that. And I added lines in there when there wasn't enough data. So, I mean, but it would.
I think the budget committee should take a look at this and then we don't have to call a special commission meeting.
yeah, I totally agree with Glenn. I think the budget committee would be best served to meet with Miffle. They have an alternate budget. And I'd say on the record that I think that this is Miffle's responsibility to produce a balanced budget as close as possible to the board for us to approve. And I think that that's crucial to what we're paying Miffle as the management contract. I think like you guys having a balanced budget that we can present to the town board is as important a job as we can do here. That makes
This
sense.
isn't the budget, this is tariff.
Right, the tariffs are half of the budget, so half of it's spending, the other half is revenue. We have to get there somehow.
Robin, how close are you to being able to provide that, your numbers
Well,
to?
it's done. I mean, I spent the weekend doing it. So, I mean,
So you can get it to
I
them.
have the Excel chart done where I added columns. I did not fix up the side, where you had cash versus Miffle account versus whatever. And there's a couple things missing in there because we run the motor coach on the side, we don't run the motor coach through Mantix. The group tours, Harry would, make out the sheet, they have a discount rate, you know what I mean? It's,
Well,
and ambulances aren't in there either.
I could suggest maybe, like immediately getting it to Evan so that he can look at it and kind of validate that it, does what it purports to do. And then if Evan, once he's comfortable, can distribute it to the rest of the commission and then have a budget meeting with.
Like
budget meeting work.
Monday or Tuesday,
Yeah.
be Tuesday after the mail goes out would be the best for me, but I could do Monday also.
I can't do Monday during the day.
Can't do Tuesday.
Wednesday, I think I'm driving my dad to a doctor's appointment.
Well, maybe I can give Michael a cover for a couple hours on Monday.
Let's,
I think it'd be best on Monday or Tuesday so that we get submitted in time for the Thursday, if there is going to be a Thursday meeting, but.
I can see if Michael can cover for a little bit.
well, let's tentatively plan on Monday then. We can make it work.
I gotta check.
Thank you. Second part of that is, oh no, I guess number 8 is 2025 schedule discussion. Kind of covered a lot of that last week, but if anyone has anything.
Week by week.
So, I don't know if you like have an update on mine there. So there's I guess there's the overall schedule, which I'm, want to make a recommendation on, but there's still, I don't have Gary's, request, I guess, for the.
Big top.
Yes, yep. So I don't want to create something and then have to tear it all back down and start over. So if it's critical to wait for that, I would really prefer to not do it twice. So as soon as I can get that in, I can get a recommendation. And go from there. I just don't want to speak too soon on the whole thing. I can give rough projections based off of what we have right now, which is ultimately right off the bat, it's more staff. I mean, and it's gonna have to be year-round staff because the times in which we want to run additional trips are times when I can't get my seasonal staff. It's before and after they show up. So it require more year-round staff, which is ultimately the direction I think we want to be going anyways. But it does add a pretty right off the bat if you're paying a year-round salary to supplement your wages to supplement these trips. It does add a big price per trip right off the bat. But again, I would rather have the whole picture because it'd be more accurate when it's split up across kind of what they're offering. Is there any other comments on that? I guess before
I'd say it makes sense to revisit it once we have everything from.
I think, yeah, and I'm talking about this, I'm gonna maybe give it a deadline.
that'd be great.
for-
Yeah. Because we definitely want to get this done, and this is a top priority to me, so as soon as I can get the full data, I will have something back to you guys immediately.
I mean, we're getting calls every day,
Yeah.
what the schedule, we look like we're not organized.
Freeze up, so, kind of where I'm looking at that right now is, I'm only half of it, right? I mean, as we we're discussing earlier, the other half is Arnie and, Winslow, right? So I can't directly speak for the Winslow, but, what I'm seeing right now with the conditions that we're facing, one, the island side is getting ruined. We're, stalling out our engines, which I have to report to the Coast Guard every single time. When it's all on the island side, the ice is heavy. So we're to that point where, next week, we're gonna drop the 5 o'clock, just because we're doing a lot of backing up and busting a lot of ice coming into the island. With that being said, at this point, I would anticipate that last week is our last operating week. And the Winslet would be able to start at some point, either late next week or the following week. Based off of the weather conditions that I'm seeing, so long as the ice holds, there's really good temps, we're in heavy ice. We're definitely at the max for the boats. So I'm hoping that, and I've been in close communication with them every week to orchestrate that, and that's kind of what I'm feeling is right now, is that likely on discussion, take another look at the weather. We put out a notice saying, start getting vehicles over, give enough time for everybody to park, give a little bit more time for the ice to set up and, shut down at that point, whenever that date comes. But
And so getting to the point where we determine what is the safest transportation for everyone, you know, going on the wind sled or going on the boat.
I'm
It's a weird year.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, like, I have no desire for the wind sled to ever run if it's breaking through. You know, that is just not a good situation. I've been on the wind sled when it breaks through. It's not fun. I don't think I'm not trying to push him into that. So if he's still breaking through, we will do our best to find, you know, I just hope we don't run into a situation where we're up against a hard wall and he's still breaking through on the other side. But I think we're gonna be okay.
Thanks, Cal.
Oh, and because of that, with this wind event, I'm sorry, we're gonna be putting up a notice of the 5 p.m. being canceled today as well. I drove the boat over, we're getting pretty backed up in there. It's pretty tough on the equipment to be getting in and out of it now, the wind is gonna jam in there all.
More reason for a boat that'll cut 20 years.
100%. This is that the savings that we're gonna have to have a new vessel, the maintenance costs on it are gonna go dramatically down. In fact, I mean, the direct correlation is the airline, when they're trying to save money, they typically buy new planes or they lease new planes. Because your costs become significantly more fixed. You know what things are, you're not running into unexpected things. And then having larger deck capacity means the same amount of crew, you know, more cargo. So I think again, from a, you know, cost saving standpoint, a new ferry is definitely going to help in a lot of matters.
Just out of curiosity, Kyle, how many more vehicles would a ferry like this possibly carry? Like,
So just from a sheer number standpoint, it would be 5 more than like the Bayfield is what we're anticipating. So essentially a whole nother row, maybe plus than the Bayfield. But you know, that's just an ideal number. But the things that it can start doing too is the Bayfield's the only boat in our fleet that can take 2 cement trucks. This would easily be able to take 2 cement trucks plus additional cargo. You know, so there's things that it could start doing too, where, you know, La Pointe has had to leave with empty deck space just because it's hitting its weight limit, where this boat would be able to again exceed that. So it would be able to take 5 more cars right off the bat. But I mean, it would be let's see here, it would be essentially the equivalent of the Nichebo and Queen. If you remove the superstructure off the Queen, you'd have the same capacity. So it'd be like running both boats at once in the winter.
And it would use the same landing.
We use the same landings and we wouldn't need to update any shore infrastructure. So, you know, once you have the boat, the day it shows up, you'd be able to go into service.
Good go.
Moving on to number 9, review policy regarding ambulance ferry charges for emergency runs. Everyone saw Sarah's email.
I would be interested in Biffle looking at just charging a flat rate instead of by the minute, just because there's so many variables as to what goes into a call, the length of time. I do a lot of them myself. How much time you spend in the ER and how much time you spend loading and unloading the patient has a lot more to do with the call. And I just think a flat rate would be easier for everybody to, if we could just find an average, I think that would be easier for the patient. I know that in a lot of business applications, people are looking to simplify billing, that people don't like tag on costs and stuff. I think that that's one of them. And I think it would, I really appreciate Sarah's comment about you don't want people trying to hurry through a run to save a patient $80 that could really lower the quality of care.
So I did talk with Robin about like what their kind of their form that they fill out. And I mean, I asked and she said that it's the special ferry, if there is one, if there wasn't already a ferry at the dock, the vehicle, and then like the passenger charges. Not sure
where this by the minute thing is going
Yeah.
from. I wasn't aware of it either.
It's in the tariff.
I was just going with.
Go ahead, Rhoda. I
I
heard.
didn't see that on the form.
Yeah, well, it's in the tariff that before 7 something in the morning, after whatever at night, if we're not running the boat, it's a special charge. And so that also applies to your Excel and or your police. Okay, so if Excel comes over here and spends 5 hours, the crew's sleeping on the cabin or whatever, and the same thing with ambulance. We do not apply that generous, you know, I mean, we give them an hour or two. And kind of depending on it, then we'll just charge every 15 minutes. So it's
Yeah.
not like we charge from day one.
Totally understand. Robin, would it be something that the ferry could, or Miffle could consider if they had, if you had X amount of times, or X amount of hours, a time limit
Oh,
that,
like such this.
yeah, and if it goes over 2 or 3 hours, then there's an extra charge, not by the 15 minutes or half hour, but it would be another $200 or $100 if it's exorbitant amount of time. Because I totally understand if it's 5 hours versus 2 hours, that's
Right.
significant amount.
We could put
Cost.
a range in there, but again. It's not to discourage the ambulance time, it's to discourage other things from just coming over here and digging around and, you know what I mean?
Totally understand that. I just think it would be, if we can avoid the beat the clock,
Yep.
on medical calls, that would really, and I think improve the likelihood that there wouldn't be someone trying to short care versus patient time. Like, I hate the idea of an ambulance call trying to hurry a patient out of, a lot of times, a lot of it's on scene. You know, how you safely get the person into the ambulance is a lot of the time. I just hate to see somebody rushing.
And it's not the time that it takes ambulance to get down to the dock.
Right.
It's the return, it's the return from that side.
Okay,
So you know what I mean? We don't
so the
charge-
clock starts after the boat's left.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes. I mean, after you're delivered to the mainland, you know. We don't, we're on standby when we get the call. And so that gives us time to get the crew over here from the island or from Bayfield or wherever, or get a boat, or say we're gonna take a regular boat and just let it sit there. So that time is, you go to Bayfield. And then, take them to Ashland or wherever. And, we don't usually charge for the first hour, So it's only the return, and what we would never. Not allow the animal to get back down as soon as possible. That's why that crew waits, or somebody waits. So that, because we realize that you could have 2 calls back to back or.
It's been great. I just personally, like the change since I've been on and Miffle's response and it's been fantastic. It's been so much better than when I started. It's great. It's great.
But I still, I mean, I think if that's still an issue that, kind of that timing increment to simplify the bill, I mean.
If there's a way, I think it would be easier for the patient, or I think the customer to understand it's just a flat rate. They don't feel like they're being gouged, and I think it would ease the necessity of the crew to try to hurry, which I think would maybe affect patient care.
Okay.
So if it's possible,
Yeah, the one that usually pays for a lot of extra time is Excel, and they learn how to do it, they'll talk to, I think. It's regulations that they have to respond to a call, but they will, say, can we come over the next morning? Okay, rather than sending them over, at 1 o'clock at night, if that's the last ferry left at 11, because it hits their budget too. So they've been a lot better too. And Excel is very good about responding. I mean, they will bring crews in from other places. They're good service.
Thanks for the feedback, Jay.
I take my silence as agreement.
Okay.
Anything else? On number 9? Do we, look then at a different collection agency to collect uncaptured fares?
Well, it sounds like the insurance companies, from at least what Sarah was able to determine, don't reimburse at all for the ferry trip.
Yeah, from what I understand, they've tried to try to solve this every which way. And unfortunately, it comes down to there's not a line item for insurance companies to add this on. It
Right.
just that doesn't exist.
But it
Does
doesn't,
it have to be added on, or can you just create it as, this is the ambulance fee at, starting at 9 o'clock at night? You know,
Yeah.
this is the run fee.
I think that would be the only alternative would be to encourage it as to increase the fee, then the town would reimburse Miffle somehow. It would be complicated, but that would be the only way going forward for billing. They can't add it.
So if I understand, so the ferry line can't get reimbursed, paid by the insurance company, but the town can?
If it was to be an entirety, from what I understand, if the entirety of the run then would be broken down after the town. So the town would disperse to Miffle and to any other entities that would get that money, maybe the ambulance or however they disperse that.
but they would have to call it cost of the run and
Yes.
leave the ferry trip out of it.
All of it.
That's the town's cost to make this run from
That's what your ambulance ride
From-
is.
last boat to first boat.
Yes,
Got it.
And that's where a flat rate would make it much simpler to bill.
possibly. And I really think that Sarah should be brought into this because she's talked a lot with the billing company about it, so she would be able to add.
I think if you have a chance, can you maybe pose some of those questions to her? and-
Yeah, absolutely. She said she'd be more than willing to sit down with us and explain it, so.
Let's move on then, if there's nothing else, on the ambulance charges to number 10, West Bend insurance quote to add garage keepers premium.
So this would be basically in addition to our Weston auto policy. This is just something that is technically not covered at the moment. This would cover basically any Miffle employee driving its customers a non-Miffle vehicle. So like Darlene's van or just basically anything that's not owned and insured through us. This would be that we will cover with.
Do you know what the premium would be on this?
Yeah,
A year?
it was it?
Oh, that's not bad.
That seems like a reasonable.
Also allows us
Email from
to drive. We have a lot of passengers that are afraid, I think would be the best way to put it, to drive their vehicle on the vessel. So in the summer, that is a common occurrence that listen, can you just drive it on? And having this, it's something we've done in the past, but it's something we're aware of, that it is, $100,000 vehicle, you drive it on the boat and all of a sudden they say, oh, that wasn't like that before you got in there. It could be a pretty big risk.
I'll move that we authorize Robin to get this coverage.
Second,
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of bills. We have bank charges in the amount of $531.45. I will move that we authorize payment.
I'll second.
that is September through December 2024, so. For two different accounts.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd just like to add that in the next, depending on whether we meet next week or not, within the next 2 weeks, we probably will want to authorize the payment of the management fee. to
On the next agenda then?
the-
Would be the 13th.
I think there were conflicts. Someone had conflicts next week, but
I will,
Evan, you're leaving. right?
yes, I could probably phone in.
I don't know whether I will be able to phone in or not.
Do we have time to go off to put it up until the next week? Well, we need to get this, we need to get this tariff stuff done.
We could do Wednesday.
Could you
I
Wednesday?
think I'm gonna be gone. I think potentially, I may not have to do it, but my dad has surgery. I think I
Yeah,
have to
you
drive.
probably want to get the tariff done.
In the afternoon, if that works better for you on Wednesday, so.
I think I'm gonna be in Duluth. But let me verify. Should we just send out an email with those times?
I'm fine
See if we
with
can, yeah. And we'll shoot for Monday. For the
I
budget.
can start an email
Okay,
thread to
perfect.
figure out a time for Monday.
Yeah, I did tell, he was wondering time and I said to be determined, Katie will set this up. After the meeting.
Anything else for the agenda? Then we'll go back to, or move on to public comment B.
Because, Cal, do you know whether we were on TV last night or
Yes, we were.
we were?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, I wasn't able to watch it this morning. I didn't get it to plow and start the boat. My wife watched it. She said you're the star of the show.
Oh, cut it out.
So. but
Maybe JR,
I'm
right?
gonna get a role for support.
I'll have to TiVo
What was
those.
it on? Just running in the ice or?
Yeah, about some of the challenges of, what the weather is kind of doing to the ice, the Islanders, and how it affects the things.
Did you ever get contacted by Fox News for the grant?
Yes, and they just aired it as like a 3-paragraph.
Okay.
Kind of blurb, just kind of what it was for and it's a pretty basic, but I could share that with you if like. Yeah. I'll share a link to the last time.
Thank you.
Great. Move on. Is there any other public comment? We'll move on to review of the Mifflin management contract.
Do we need to go into closed session today?
I don't have anything.
Yay.
All right, then I'll move that we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are.